Good morning. We'll be getting started in just a little bit. Just making sure all the notifications have gotten sent out properly. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started as we're just before 10 o'clock here. Thank you for joining VirtualPBX-admin training. The page you see right here is at dash.virtualpbx.com. If you're on the main virtualpbx.com website, if you mouse over support, and on the left-hand side, you can click on dash login, and that will get you to this page. To log in, you'll need your email address, the password that either your admin created for you or the system created for you if you just signed up, as well as your account name, which is typically your company name. One thing to be aware of the first time you log in is that sometimes your browser may default your email address with a capital letter on the first letter. You want to make sure that you go back and change that to a lowercase letter. Otherwise, you'll get an invalid credentials error. But once you have your login information, you can click on the Remember Me, so the system will remember you, and you'll have to keep typing it in. And if you ever forget your password, for example, you have your Forgot Info link here to the bottom right. And we'll go ahead and click on Sign In. And we'll be taken to our dashboard page. Now, if you just signed up or it's your first time logging in ever, what you'll actually see initially first is this kind of information. Basically, your account information, you can change your time zone, etc. If you click Close right here at the top, then you'll go back to your dashboard page. Also, for that first login, the wizard will pop up and give you a brief overview of like how to change your time zone, that sort of thing. All right, so on your dashboard page, we have here at the top center the number of users on the account. Now, keep in mind, for some accounts, you have unlimited users. You just have a limited pool of minutes. Other accounts, you have a greater pool of minutes, but your bill is based on the number of users you have. So adding users may impact your billing. Just be aware of what kind of plan you're on. Below that, we've got your total devices and broken down by type. So you have like a soft phone, which is a software application that runs on, say, a computer or your cell phone or a tablet. You've got a SIP device or SIP phone. That's a type of physical VoIP phone, right? So it sits on your desk, plugs into your internet, makes and receive calls. Web phone is actually a special type of soft phone. It's integrated with Dash so that you can use Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls. So you don't need additional hardware other than maybe a headset and mic. Then cell phone and landline, pretty self-explanatory. Below that, we've got your total phone numbers on the account. Most accounts, they have between anywhere from 1 to, I think, 10 phone numbers as part of the plan. Again, it depends on your plan. Additional phone numbers are typically around $5 a month per phone number, but again, that's going to vary a little bit by plan, and that will be different also if you have an international phone number, because those will have typically higher rates. We have it broken down here by assigned numbers and spare numbers. Assigned number means it's going someplace, right? Each one of your main phone numbers. It goes directly to Bob in sales. or it goes to your billing department group, whatever. It's going someplace on your system. A spare number on your account would be something you're still being charged for, but it's not ringing anywhere right now, right? You haven't decided where it goes. Or it's for a special promotion that is coming up for the 4th of July weekend, and you're like, well, let's hold on to the number for now, and then when we're good to go, we'll make it go to the right spot. Right? Further breakdown, USDID, meaning a U.S. local number, right? So number in New York, or number specific to Chicago, what have you. U.S. toll-free, 888 number, 800 number, 833, 844, etc. You would also have a link here if you have international numbers. Conference bridge is 5, basically the number of users you've allocated to have a conference bridge on their user. If you go over here to the top right, we have your main phone numbers. So these, in this case 3, phone numbers all behave in the same manner, right? So they're all going to have the same greeting. They're all going to have the same routing initially. Then we've got your conference bridge numbers. So these are numbers you and your staff, as well as outside people, will call into. Then they enter in the conference room number to join the conference. Your fax box number, this is so you can receive faxes. And then company directory user is 23. This doesn't actually have to match the number of users. You can determine which users show up in the company directory. And then you've got this link to download that if you need it or need to pass it out to your staff. Up here we have caller ID, basically which number are you using as your default caller ID for when you send out, and then you click on send changes, or save changes, excuse me. Hold music. So by default, hold music on Dash, what it is a call comes in, gets to a user. If the user then presses hold on their phone, this is the default music that will play. You can upload your own file. It can be a .wav or .mp3. It should be less than 1 megabyte in size. It should be recorded in mono. And mono is important because if you actually, by default, usually when we record on a computer, for example, it records in stereo. The problem with a stereo file, when you upload it to Dash, is when you call in to listen over your phone only has one speaker, and it's trying to get 2 audio streams through one speaker. You either get a lot of static, or you might get silence. And then we go to hours, which is part of the main number. So by default, if you just signed up, you're set to 24-hour open office. Most people would change it to custom office hours. Each day of the week that you're open, you put a check mark in front of, and then in the boxes to the right, you select when you're open. This is in 24-hour or military time. So in this case, I'm open from 9 to 5. Down here at the very bottom, if you put a check mark here, this is saying your entire office or business is closed for lunch. You put a check mark there saying, yes, we are, and then you put your lunch hours in the boxes. That way the system knows, oh, you might have something different going on during your lunchtime. In fact, let's go up to the main numbers. So here's your main numbers. You can always unassign a number in case you want to use it for something else or get rid of it. If you click on the little gear icon, this is where you can set up your caller ID. So you can put your caller ID name here, or company ID name here. This is 15 characters, including spaces and special characters. Once you click Save Changes here, it gets transmitted to the other carriers and servers that support the company caller ID name. This update can take up to 3 business days to actually complete. A couple things to keep in mind. 1, not every carrier supports company caller ID name. So if your call happens to route through one of those carriers, your company caller ID name does not get all the way through to whoever you're calling. The other thing to keep in mind is even for the carriers who do support it, if they're having some sort of issue or there's very heavy call traffic, they're going to drop the company call ID name because priority is to connect the call. And then this option here, inbound call ID name, this is so you can see company call ID name getting sent to you. Most people turn that on because it's kind of helpful. E911, this is something you want to set up, especially if you're making use of VoIP phones. Basically, it's the default address that will get transmitted if someone on your VoIP phone dials 911. You can also set it up by user or device. Skip to, oops. One other thing. You can also add additional numbers from your spare number pool or buy a number here. We'll get into buy numbers under the numbers tab just all at once there. Office holidays. If you're closed for office holidays, put a check mark here. And then over here to the right, you can add a holiday. You've got your choice of single day, date range, or advanced. Single day, pretty straightforward. We have the example here on the screen, should be for President's Day. You give it a name, and you put the date. Right? Date range, we have up here for Christmas, from the December 23rd to the 26th. Right? You're just letting the system know, hey, when this date hits, put this in holiday mode. Advanced, which I don't know if we have looks like we don't have a sample for advanced. But basically, you can say, like, I want to be closed on the second Monday of June every year, right? That's the company retreat or company picnic day, whatever. And that way the system knows automatically. Every time that second Monday in June comes around, boom, on holiday. Now, keep in mind, there's no year indicator anywhere here, so you do not want to do a date range that covers New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Right? Basically, that tells the system you're closed all year because there's no year indicator. Incoming call handling. So this is how your main numbers are handling calls. Notice here, first, you've got these sub-tabs here. So you have your open hours, you've got lunch hours, your after hours, and holidays. Now, all of these have the same three sub-options here. So this first one here is someone dials your main number, and they're going to your virtual receptionist right off the bat. Click on this. That's a link. We'll pop open a box. Boom. So on your left, you've got your main menu. This is what people press on their phones to navigate through your phone system. Right? 1 for sale, 2 for support, that sort of thing. Now, you can have a variety of places you can go. So you can have it go directly to a user. If you scroll down, right, we've got call queues. You can send it to a specific device. You can send it to a media file if you wish. Scroll down. And then you also can send it to a group. For example. Now, one thing to keep in mind of if you send it to a media file, after the media file ends, the call will end. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Over here on your right, you've got your greeting options. So the first is text-to-speech. Simply type in your greeting, click update, click save changes, and it's playing. Right? There's no charge for that at all. You can upload your own file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, less than 1 megabyte in size. If you have recordings already uploaded, you can just choose one that's already in place. You can record it over the phone. Now this says with a registered phone. That means a VoIP phone. Connected to the account, you basically pick it up, dial into your main number. Now if you don't have a greeting set up, it will prompt you to record a greeting at that time and ask you for the PIN number. If you already have a recording in place, when that recording plays, you can enter that PIN number and then you can make a new recording. But because you already have a recording in place, when you record that new one, that recording replaces the file that's already in place, right? So you've got, greeting 123. You call in, you record a new greeting. That new greeting becomes greeting 123. Right. And then we've got professional recording services. We've partnered with another company called Snap Recordings. If you click on the order button there, it'll take you to their site. They have something like 100 voice actors to choose from, both male and female. They've got various versions of English. They have a couple versions of Spanish and a couple versions of French. They might have other languages by now. I haven't checked in the last couple months. Right, so you can do bilingual greetings. They also have packages where you can do hold music with a script, right? So you can have alternating things between music and an advertisement, for example. They do their own billing, right? They'll usually by credit card. They'll email you the file when it's completed, and then you just simply upload. Now, one other thing over here, settings. Number of retrials on missed dial. Basically, how many times can your inbound caller hit the wrong button? In this case, once. Now, if you have a default route selected, then after that, in this case, one selection, right? That's this default route is this one right here. Then they'll be sent to Bob. Now, the downside of that is, unfortunately, in our modern society, we have robo-dialers. So all the robot dials will get to Bob, and Bob will probably start going crazy. So what we typically advise is on your virtual receptionist, don't have a default route, because and what you're doing is you're making a person make a decision, right? You're saying, hey, press a menu option to get to somebody. So therefore, you and your staff knows when their phones ring, hey, this is a legit, this is a person calling versus some robot or random music file playing in your ear. Right. Any changes you make, either on the main menu or in your greetings or the settings here, you click Save here, but you also need to click Save Changes under Incoming Call Handling. You have to do both for all your settings to take, all your settings to take to the system. Now, option 2, calls come in this case it's being offered to Bob, and then goes to virtual receptionist. You have any number of users you can select to. You can select it to a group or a queue, etc. What this is basically doing is you're giving someone a chance to answer the call first, or a group of people. Like you can have a receptionist group, right? So hopefully one of them answers the call. But if they can't because they're busy or they were short-staffed today, for example, then the call rolls. It goes to a virtual receptionist. Inbound caller can make a menu selection at that point. And you notice it'll be the same as what we had over here on this one here. And then the third option, call goes to a user. Again, it can go to a group, it can go to a queue, it can go to a device. And then goes to voicemail. So someone has a chance to answer, and then not there, okay, boom, goes to voicemail. Now, each one of these, let's say your lunch hours, your after hours, and your holidays, you can have different options for each one, right? So on your lunch, you can say, hey, ring it to Bob because Bob's covering everyone while we're on lunch, and then go to voicemail if he can't pick up because he was busy, right? And then, your after hours, like, nope, we're going to go to Duke here because he's our after hours guy. But if he can't answer it, then have him go to virtual receptionist and they'll get to the right people. That sort of thing, right? So you can do each one of these differently, and each one of these virtual receptionists are unique, right? You can set them all up the same. That's up to you, right? But you can change them all, basically depending on your staff level or what have you. They can all have different greetings too. Main conference number. You can add more numbers here, or you can unassign them. The custom greeting is actually only a text-to-speech at this time. I know there's been a feature request to allow people to upload their own files. I don't know when that's going to come through. Main fax box number, again, you can unassign numbers or assign a new number. When you click on Edit a Fax Box, what will happen is a box will open up with 2 fields. Now, on this particular account, that is unfortunately broken, so I'm not going to show you the brokenness. But on a normal account, the top field is an email address field where you put in who's going to receive your inbound faxes. They'll get any fax that comes through as a PDF file. The second box is if you have your own company domain, right? So if you own abccleaners.com, you can add @abccleaners.com into that second field. You would click Save. What that does is anyone with an email address that ends in abccleaners.com, they can send a fax out. They don't have to be a user on the account. All right, let's go to numbers. Boom, numbers. Numbers in use. These are the numbers you're basically using right now in some fashion. These red ones at the top were actually port attempts that have not yet completed or have failed. But these other ones down here, you can see call where they're going, right? Going to Taylor, going to Nino, etc. And you've got your spare numbers over here. Again, numbers you're not using. A spare number, by the way, you can remove by clicking on the box in front of it. Click on Delete. And it says, hey, successfully deleted. Click on Continue, and now I only have the 2 numbers here. Buying a number, you choose local or toll-free. So we can choose Trust 650. Boom, you see the numbers that are available. You can click as many as you want to add, and then you click Buy Numbers. When you click Buy Numbers, it'll go through the little circle thing in the corner there, and then basically it's verifying the numbers are still available, that it's adding to your account, and then activating them. And then they'll show up in, here, we'll add one of these here. Boom, boom, boom. And now it's a spare number. Right, toll-free, similar idea, except that you've got the toll-free prefixes. Just so you know, 800 is probably going to be the hardest to find any in, since the original toll-free. 833 is probably going to be one of the easier ones. Oh, interesting. Are they not showing up? Oh, there we go. 855. Got a bunch. Port numbers. Port is an industry term, meaning you're moving a number from one carrier to another, right? So from AT&T to VirtualPBX. That means you're porting to VirtualPBX. You can start on this process here. It'll walk you through the steps, but the essential thing is we need a completed letter of agency, LOA. You can download that on the main VirtualPBX site. You can also download it through this walkthrough. It does need to be actually signed by the billing contact for that phone number. You can use like Adobe Signature and put it in. You don't actually have to print it out, sign it, and scan it back in. You can, but you don't have to. But basically, we're trying to avoid typing your name and then typing it again in the signature field. That's not going to go through. And then we'll also need a copy of your most recent bill from your current carrier. Now, for the LOA, the information that should be filled out should be what your current carrier has on file for you, right? So say with us, you signed up as a different company name. So it's like B company. And with whoever you're currently using, you have A company. Well, on the LOA, you want to put A company as the company name, even though with us, you're B company. All right. Users. These are the users on the account. Basically, people are making and receiving calls. Adding a user at the top. You put in their name. Now, each user needs a unique email address to log in with. Ideally, they have their own email address, so you don't have to worry about it. But if for some reason you have people sharing, say, support at VirtualPBX.com, right? Like 10 different people use that for whatever reasons. Well, you can only have one user with support at VirtualPBX.com. Now, you could easily get around that by doing support 1 at VirtualPBX.com, support 2, etc. The downside of doing that is if they ever need to recover their passwords, they're not going to get it. They're not going to get the initial email with their information unless you set up those email addresses. Likewise for voicemails, they're not going to get those. Then you create a password. Hopefully you make it fairly strong. By default, extension number. You can create your own extension numbers. On this particular account, I started with extension 1000. And so the system says, hey, the next available extension that starts with 1000 is 1015. But I can simply change that to 2025, 5281, whatever. All right. Next up, this is automatically check marked is create voicemail box when you create the user. That voicemail box is actually intrinsically tied then with that user. So I generally recommend leave that checked. If you decide later that this particular user is never going to have voicemail and has no need of it, you can always delete it later. But the reverse of that is like you create a user without a voicemail box and then you manually create a voicemail box, you can't tie them together in the same way. All right, including user directory, up to you. You don't have to. And then this one I said you do want to do is send the credentials to the user, so that way they have their login information and then they'll have to pester you for it. And then either create the user and move on or create and add another user, basically bring up this form again. All right, so once you have a user created, you can click on their name. You can change their name. You can change their credentials. Their voicemail box PIN you can change. Now, if your people are going to have VoIP phones, you don't need to create a voicemail box PIN because once you assign the VoIP phone to them, they can pick up the phone, dial in, and then the system will prompt them to enter in a voicemail box PIN and then set up their voicemail box, etc. If your people are going to be using cell phones or landlines, then yes, you will want to create a voicemail box PIN number. Over here, you've got send to an alternate address. Basically, I want to send it to my personal email address so that way, at home I can check my messages versus having to call in. Likewise, if you're using that generic email address and you did support one, you can put the alternate here so they at least get their voicemail to the right place. Again, you can choose to have the person in the user directory or not. Over here, this is actually a pull down between user and admin. So when you add a user, they always start off by default as a user. You can then choose to make them an admin so they can do all the things we're covering here. And that's why this person has a little blue suit icon next to them. Where's Bob up here? So it's got the little gray person. Here you can set the time zone. And you can search for the specific one. You've got your language, English, French, Russian, and German, I think, are your options. Ringing timeout. So by default, this is set to 20 seconds. Now, on this particular user, it's grayed out because I've got what's called Follow Me enabled, which is a user feature, which we'll get into shortly. But basically what that is how much time we try to reach the devices on the user. So 20 seconds, usually plenty of time for a VoIP phone or a landline. Not always enough time for a cell phone. Just something to keep in mind. And that's simply because cell phones move. And every time a call goes to your cell phone carrier has to find you. So it takes a little bit longer for calls to actually get to a cell phone when compared to, say, a landline. Main extension number, you can have multiple ones. And then the privacy features. The extension box, again, you can add additional extensions to this. Most of the time, most people only really need one extension. I know that like our head of our sales department, whenever we lose a salesperson, he takes their extension so that any incoming calls for that former salesperson he can get and handle or, send that person to a different salesperson. And he also makes sure he gets any voicemails that might be coming through so that way we're not losing any potential business. All right, phone numbers. Again, phone number directly to this user, right? So great for salespeople, right? They can just hand them a card, here, call this number, calls me directly. You don't get the rest of my sales team. You don't have to do a menu option, nothing. You're coming straight to me or my voicemail box if I can't answer. And yes, users can have multiple numbers. devices. So users can have any number of devices on their account. You can add from spare devices, meaning you already had the device on the account set up. You just need to move it to the right person. Or you can add a new device. All right, SIP phone. Again, this is a physical VoIP device or phone sitting on your desk. You've got these manufacturers supported. If you click on the manufacturer, you can find the specific model number. When you select the model, you will then be prompted to give the device a name, like Dave's phone, and then enter the MAC address of the phone. So phones have a sticker usually on the back, hopefully labeled MAC, M-A-C. That's unique to that phone. So now as far as, and then you click on Create Device, and then you would click Save Changes. Now, as far as Dash is concerned, you're done, at least in terms of the dashboard. However, on the phone itself, you would need to go into the phone's web UI. You would need to add in a particular URL, which basically tells the phone, hey, go here when you connect to internet. So then you plug in the phone, goes on internet, goes to that device or that page. It downloads this configuration file because you've added the MAC address, and it communicates that up. It gets the file, it reboots at least once, sometimes twice, and then the phone should be connected and ready to use. Those particular steps, there'll be guides on our website. All right, cell phone and landline are the same. You give it a device name, and then you put that phone number. +1 area code and number is the format. And then you click on Create Device. And then once you've done that, you've got some options. So under Advanced Options, and actually what is this here? Let's bring that back up. All right, so this is the default setting for a new cell phone or landline. So what happens is when Dash sends a call to a cell phone or landline, right, your phone will ring. You pick up. You will hear, this is a forwarded call. Please press 1. So by pressing 1, you're telling the system, yes, you're there and ready to take the call. And it connects you. Right? If you don't press 1, then the system will either ring to your other devices or it will go to your voicemail box on Dash. Right? Now, if instead you put a check mark here, right, allow use of cell phone's voicemail, basically what happens is when you pick up, the phone call is connected right away. Likewise, if your cell phone voicemail picks up, the call is connected, so your inbound caller can end up on your personal cell phone's voicemail. Now, some people love that, some people hate that, but one of the reasons you might want to do that is because you're actually sending calls to like an automated answering service, right? And that answering service has an attendant, and that can't press 1 to accept the call. So you just say, hey, use cell phone voicemail, it connects, your answering service can then handle the call. Keep original caller ID. If you have this checked, that means you're getting, what shows up on your cell phone is the person's phone number that's calling in. If I uncheck it, then I will see the main number that they called in on, right? So your company number will show up on your cell phone's caller ID, so you know, oh, this is a work call versus some random political call. All right, soft phone. You should read this basically saying, hey, make sure your E91 is accurate for where you are because you're moving around. You give it a device name up here, and then so by default, it's actually saying, hey, you're adding a third-party soft phone, meaning a soft phone application from someone else, right? So say Xlite from Counterpath. Counterpath being another company, Xlite is one of their soft phone products. You can also use this to program a phone you didn't see on the list earlier under SIP phones. And if you're going to do that, you would use the SIP username, the SIP password, and then this account realm to program that device. And then you hit Create Device, Save Changes. And you can always access this later if you need to do it. Now, if you want to use our soft phone application, right, so VPBX soft phone, you would click down here, and then you'd put in device name, click create device, and then save changes. So by creating the VirtualPBX soft phone on your user, what this does is it allows the system to email you your credentials for your soft phone. Your soft phone credentials will have different login information than the login you use to get into Dash. And then you can download the app to your phone. Or if you want, there's a license fee for the desktop version for Windows or Mac. Once you've paid that, then you can they'll get you a download link for those particular versions as well. Next up is web phone. Web phone you want to always assign or create on the user page. And then you just give it a name and then click create device and click save changes. The reason you want to do it on the user page is because it's tied to this particular user. The web phone login information it uses the same information that you use to log into Dash, right? It's the same email address, the same password, the same company name or account name, just a different web address. All right. Next up, we've got user features. Caller ID number. So this only comes for users who have their own phone number. If you enable this, then they can, you're saying, use their phone number for their caller ID when they make outbound calls. If you don't enable it, they're just using your default main number. Call forwarding. Basically, you're forwarding it away from any device you have on your account. Particularly useful for VoIP phone users, but not just for them. But basically, by default, it's off. You can turn it on, which means you're saying, hey, choose a device, it's a mobile or desktop device, and then you put the +1 area code and phone number, click Save Changes. Now, the main thing is that this phone number cannot be a device on my user. Right? So basically, you're saying, hey, if this is on, skip all the devices on my user, send it to this device instead. Now, the reason it's particularly handy for people who are using VoIP devices, you can do failover mode, meaning our system detects that your VoIP phone goes offline, calls coming to user just at that moment. The system says, oh, we'll just send it to this forwarding device. So then, like, your cell phone would ring, and you're like, what's wrong with my VoIP phone? You handle the call, and then you go like, okay, did we lose internet? Did my phone just die? Did someone trip on a cable? Also, call forwarding can be set up by the users themselves, either on their VoIP phone or through the user portal. Hot desking is a VoIP feature. Basically, this is in an instance where you have a shared office environment where people can be at a different desk from day to day. Right? So today is Tuesday. I'm sitting at desk 7. I sit down on the phone. I pick up the VoIP phone. I hit *11, which is the feature code to toggle on hot desking. Then the system will ask me for my hot desk ID. I enter that, and then it says calls will now be sent to this device. End of my shift, I pick up the phone again. I hit *12. I turned off hot desking. Tomorrow when I come in, I'm sitting at desk 242, way on the other side of the room. Again, same thing. I sit down at that desk. I hit the phone. I pick it up. I hit *11, enter my hot desk ID. Right? And so calls that are coming to my user follow me at that desk that I'm sitting at because I logged into that particular phone. Obviously, if everyone has their own desk that they're always sitting at, you don't need to make use of this. Voicemail box. Everyone has a voicemail box by default. Fax box. You can set up the user to have their own fax box, typically to receive faxes. You click Enable. You can either select a number, buy a new number, or choose an extension. Now, I typically recommend just using a phone number, since most people, when they fax, they basically go to a fax machine, enter the fax number, hit the document, hit send fax, and they walk away from the fax machine because it'll get through. I don't need to wait for it and listen to it. Or they're using an e-fax service where they just kind of type it in and send it off, right? If you use an extension number, what has to happen is that inbound fax person has to call your main number, hear your greeting, enter in the fax extension, and then send the fax. For an analog fax machine, that's probably a little tedious, and some people may not get it right away. E-fax services, that's going to depend on if they allow that sort of interaction and like how to handle it in their formatting. Conference bridge, you can enable a conference bridge for your user. Here are the phone numbers. You give them their own conference room number and then their PIN number. Follow me. This is for people with multiple devices. So in this instance, I have them all set to ring basically for blast ringing, right? So all my devices are ringing at the same time for the same amount of time for any call that comes in until I pick up. Except for this last one, which I said, hey, don't ring this one. Right there. Now, I can also choose to click distribute. So now I'm ringing my devices in order. If I don't like that particular order, I can click and drag and redistribute as I see fit. You can also change this to a longer duration if you wanted to, or shorter. Music on hold. Users can have their own hold music. Again, .wave, .mp3, under 1 megabyte, recorded in mono. But you click enabled and find the file or upload it. So by default, users have the default call recording status is off. If you want to turn it on, one, you make sure you turn this is enabled first and foremost, and then you make sure these various versions are on that you want. Now, inbound internal means Bob Smith called me, right? So Bob's my coworker. Inbound external means my customer, Carrie, called me. Outbound internal, that would be I called my coworker Bob back. And then outbound external means I called my customer Carrie, saying, hey, here's a follow-up on your order. And then click Save Changes. Next, we'll go over to groups. Groups is shorthand for ring groups, basically a department or group of people who are answering calls about the same kind of topic. Adding a group is pretty easy. You just give it a name, an extension number, and then you click and drag who you want in it, and then you would click Create. If you click on the name of the group, you can always change the name. And then the next option here is dialing repeats. There's little arrows here to the right that might be hard to see on YouTube. But basically, you can increase or decrease the number of times a caller can go through a group. Right? In this case, I have it set at 2, meaning a caller can go through the group 2 times. Obviously, you can also delete a group here. If you click on the members, now you can determine who the ring order, right? So who's getting rung when. Just like under Follow Me, you could extend the sliders here. So you can do this kind of setup here. Oops. So this is, again, blast ringing. So I'm reading all of these people at the same time until one of them picks up. Downside of this is, all right, say Michael here is on a call from the group, and then another call comes in. He will hear a call waiting beep on his side. His customer won't until one of the other people picks up the call. Just like under Follow Me, you can drag people around, change the order. You can click Distribute so it rings an order. And this rings all of their devices on these users. Then you also obviously have the chance to remove. Up here, you've got the total ring time in the group. Again, 120 seconds is the default. And then you click Save Changes. Extension number box. Again, a group can have multiple extension numbers. Basically, this is so staff members can transfer calls to the group. Right? Groups can have their own phone numbers, so basically directly into the group. Don't even go through the virtual receptionist. And then we got group features. All right. Call recording on the group. It's either on or it's off, right? So all incoming calls into the group get recorded or they're not getting recorded. Ringback, this is essentially hold music while your customer is waiting for one of your agents to pick up. The main thing is you want to make sure this file is duration matches your ringing time, right? So default is 120 seconds. So by default, you'd want to make sure your file is 120 seconds. .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte in size. Next action. So after those two dialing attempts, right? It's got two chances to get through. What does the system do with the caller after that? That's what next action is for. In this case, I'm sending it to Bob Smith's voicemail box. You can send them back to the main menu or typically other voicemail boxes. Allow call forward. This basically allows your users to make use of call forwarding, i.e., I'm not going to be at my desk all day today, but I still want to be able to take these group calls. I'm going to make use of call forwarding on my user, and this will allow calls for the group to still get to me. If you have this disabled, that means the group members can't make use of call forwarding. So if they're away from their desks, like they're at a company, a customer site, they're not going to get those calls, or like they're at a conference. All right, call ID prepend. This is for VoIP phone users. You can have additional text or numbers appear on the caller ID screen of their phone, so that way they know what the call is about ahead of time. Especially useful if people are in multiple groups. Devices, this shows your devices on the account and their status. Red means we don't know it's connected. Green means as far as we know it's connected, in the case of cell phones. For VoIP phones, when it's green, we know it's connected because we're having a constant check on that. If you see a black device, that means you've marked it disabled. You can add devices up here, but again, for VirtualPBX soft phone and web phones, you want to do those on the user page, not on the device page, at least currently. Voicemail boxes, you'll see that the users right here will have, this will let you know, oh, this was a user-created voicemail box. You can create your own voicemail boxes up here, give it a name, voicemail box number, and a PIN. Under Advanced, you can upload media files. So the normal media file, this is like your, hey, this is your normal voicemail box greeting, right? Temporary, this is like, hey, Bob's going to be out from, Wednesday through Friday. Put in this temporary voicemail greeting. That's what's going to play until you select it back to none. When it gets back, you put it back to none, and his normal voicemail greeting is playing. Recipients, you can add additional recipients, so that way you get notified about when voicemails come in, and you usually get an attachment with the voicemail message. And then options. So once you have a media file set up, you can click on the already set up. The other thing is the delete after notification is good to use because voicemail boxes can hold up to 100 messages. And after that, the person calling in gets the mailbox is full. Please try again later. Since you're already sending the emails out with the voicemails, you can just delete after notification. Or if your people just like going, you don't have to, right? Especially if your people are good about deleting their messages. That's fine. Greetings. This is your greetings manager. So all your greetings that you've uploaded or typed in, what have you, they're here. You can download them here, so then you can listen to them and make sure it's still, like, if you still want to keep it, or if it's like, nope, we need to get rid of it. If you need to get rid of it, you click Edit, you've got an option here to delete the greeting, or you can change the name so it's more easily identifiable for you. Call logs, that shows your call activity on the account. The green arrow to the right just means, hey, this call came into the system. Yellow arrow to the left means it's an outgoing call. And then feature codes. Again, from your VoIP phones, you can hit star and then the code number here to do these various features. These are also published on our website, so you don't have to log in to see them. All right. So then over here, we have the 3 horizontal line, or hamburger menu. And so we're on the dashboard. Over here is ACD Queues or ACD Queues Pro. There's 2 different products. If you already have ACD Queues and you upgrade to ACD Pro, you don't have to change any settings. They'll be kept. But basically, you can create a new queue. I'm just going to go into an existing queue here and then click on the gear icon to edit the settings. And then you just basically go through like what's the name of it, what's the extension or phone number. It's either or. Then you've got your general settings. A call limit, so 0 means unlimited. Otherwise, you're just limiting how many callers can be in your queue. Queue timeout is how long they can wait on hold. And then timeout immediately if empty basically means if no agents logged in, then basically time out any inbound callers to do the escalation handling, which we'll get to shortly. Down here you have 0 out after call. Basically what this does is allows the inbound caller to press 0 on their phone so they don't have to wait on hold. Basically like, I don't want to wait on hold anymore. I'm going to go to whatever, basically hoping to leave a message. This one here, display agent statuses to other agents. Basically, it lets your staff know what the other agents are doing. Like, are they on a call? Are they away? Whatever. Also, then you've got record all calls into the queue. Then you have escalation handling. So basically, calls come in and no one's able to answer. You can send them to a second queue. Or you can just say, hey, after timeout, just send them right to the voicemail box. Now, so the normal ACD queues, I think their list price is $30 per month per queue, although that will vary a bit by plan. ACD Queues Pro, I don't remember what the list price is, but it is more. There's some more features built into it. But that's also going to be probably based on your plan. Routing strategies, so these are your 4 routing strategies. So unlike a group, you only had basically, you can ring an order or everyone all at once. The queues have better options. So most idle, who's been waiting for a call for the longest? Right, least calls handled means like Bob's had 2 calls that he's talked to people. Mary's had 15 where she's talked to people. Bob's getting the next call. Right, least offers made. So Bob's had 20 calls offered to him. Mary's only had the 15. Mary's getting the next call that comes in. Right, doesn't care about how many were connected. Right, round robin, basically equally distributed among everybody. Hold treatment, you can customize this. So you can announce their position, announce their wait. You can put a pause. You can play a media file. And you can repeat them, right? So you can say, hey, media file, announce position, put the media file in, announce the wait time, that sort of, you can keep on going. That, by the way, this is on ACD Queues Pro. This is not available on ACD Queues. Agent behavior, basically how much agent connect timeout, how much time are we trying to reach a particular agent before we move on to the next one. The force away on rejected or missed. Basically, agent misses a call. For whatever reasons, the system will temporarily put them in away mode, so that way when if a next call happens to come in right away, they're not immediately offered one since the system thinks, hey, you're not there. Now, an agent can manually update themselves to be back in ready mode, and if they miss successive calls, the time that they're marked away increases. Member manager, basically who's going to be in the queue. Right, you can do select that, and then they're moved over. And then you have review and confirm. Also over here under the headset, person with the headset. So these are the people you have available. You click on managers or member management, and then you can move more people into the complete pool of people available to be in your various queues. Likewise, you can remove someone so they're not available in the queues anymore. Right here we've got performance. This allows you to see what people are doing, and you can add additional rows so you can pair people to staff. Now this is only available to admins on the account. And then you're back to your queue view here. Up here at the top, this is where your agents determine their status. And then the little phone icon is they can determine which of their devices they're going to use. Or they can select all of them. For queues, both ACD queues and ACD queues Pro, you can only use VoIP devices. So that is something to be aware of. All right, blacklists. Whoops. You click edit here. This allows you to basically block phone numbers from connecting to your system. You just add a list or edit an existing one. Click add number. You put +1 area code in the phone number, and then you would click save. You go back to settings. Then you click and drag it over into selected, and then you click update. And so now those phone numbers will not be able to get through. Basically, they get a busy tone whenever they try to call one of your intercompany numbers. Faxes. As an admin, you can get to any fax box on the account and basically see what's going on. You can see the outbound faxes. And then the email to fax logs can show you when your staff members are having problems faxing out and can give you a greater idea of what's going on, like they used the wrong file type. For faxing out, it's PDF or TIFF. To send a fax out from your email client, you create a new email. In the to field, you put +1 area code and phone number of the number you're faxing to, and then you use the @ symbol and then your account realm, which should show up right here, account realm. And then you simply attach a PDF or TIFF and send it out. You do want to make sure the largest file we've been able to fax out has been 7 megabytes, but that took like an hour and a half or 2 hours for it to actually get completed. All right. Monitor, this lets you see what your staff are doing. Basically, green means they're waiting for a call. Blue means they're on an inbound call. Gold is they're on an external call, meaning they're making an outbound call typically. Yellow is they're on recovery time from a queue call, and red means they've marked themselves away. User portal, this is something everyone has access to. It's their own user portal, so they'd have their own specific voicemail show up, right? So if you delete after notification for your voicemail boxes, nothing would show up for this person. But if they're good about checking their voicemails, They can go in here, listen to them, download them, etc. They can view their call history, their faxes. The contact list is basically everything within the Dash account, so the groups and the users. The conference. So here is the information they would need, right? So here's your main conference number. This is your conference room number. Now, as a moderator, this is their PIN that they would enter, whereas for their guests, this is the PIN number they would enter to get into the group for the conference. Right, and then you have these other options here. Along the top here, you can invite people. This is other users on the account through the conference. You can lock the conference. You can mute everybody. You can unmute. You can hang up. Also, when a conference is actually going, you can mute a specific participant, and you can kick a specific person as well. And then on this page here, settings devices, this is where a user can set up their own call forwarding for themselves so they don't have to bother you. They can also set up the call forwarding using the feature codes, so for their VoIP phone. Voicemails, this is the, again, as an admin, you can get to any voicemail box, so you can check on what's going on with them or empty them as needed. Webhooks makes use of, if you're making use of APIs to link Dash to other software, this is where you would handle that. Call recording, which would take you to the AWS call recording page. And that is everything that is currently live on Dash. All right. Oh, one other thing I should point out. I always forget this. Up here on the question mark, you can get to our support team via chat. You can get to the web phone login. Now, the web phone link will only show up once you've added a web phone to a user. And then you can also get the online store where you can order phones or network equipment. And that will cover it. So I thank you for your time today. We'll be doing this again next week. If you need to, this will be on our YouTube page, so you can always refer to it later, or you can send your staff to it if you have other people that you're going to make an admin. But beyond that, I wish you a wonderful day.